Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala khatib al-anbiya'i wa mursalin. Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa ba'd. In looking at the issues of Islamic revival, we recognize the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal has told us, Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change that which is in themselves. And so this issue of the self, what is on the inside of the Muslim? This is what we want to look at. And in the great books of 40 hadith, they always begin with the hadith reported by Umar ibn Khattab, and this is the famous hadith on intentions, where the Prophet ﷺ is saying, there's a number of different reports in this. I have chosen one of them, which is a little shorter than maybe the one that you may have read before. And this is that the Prophet ﷺ has said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى الدُّنْيَا يُصِيبُهَا أو إلى امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. There's another one that you also hear where it says, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فهجرته إلى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَمَنْ كَانَتْ هجرته للدنيا يصيبها أو امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. So this is basically saying surely actions are based on intentions, and surely every person will get what he intends. So whoever has migrated to Allah whoever has migrated to achieve a worldly gain, or in order that he would get married to a woman, then his migration will be exactly for what he intends. So the niyyah, the intention, is really important. And we have to look at this in terms of why we do things. Why are we involved in what we are involved in? Intention is really important issue. And I came across a very interesting statement by a great scholar, Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi. And he wrote in his book Minhaj al-Qasidin, very interesting point when he was talking about actions. Because now, think about those people who are making Hajj. They are returning from the pilgrimage, and they have carried out a series of actions. They've done manasik. And if you go to Mecca and you make this manasik, you don't make the intention for Hajj, then it's like a vacation. You had a nice exercise and aerobics, and you did some good hiking and whatever, and you slept outside. You get no barakah because you didn't make the intention. When the person makes the intention, then it can become, those same actions can actually make a person come home like a baby, no sins. It can actually wipe away a kafara for the sins of a person. And the niyyah is the crucial factor involved in this. And this scholar, rahimahullah, he said, Al-amal bi ghayri niyya ana, wa niyya bi ghayri ikhlas riya, wal ikhlas min ghayri tahqiq haba. Very interesting statement that he made. He said, actions without intentions is nothing but labor. It's nothing but toil. Okay? You didn't make the intention, it's just hard work. You're going up and down in salat, it's like aerobics. You fast in Ramadan, you starving yourself. Why the Prophet ﷺ is saying, when he's speaking about the fast, he's showing, رُبَّ صَائِمٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا الْجُوعَ وَرُبَّ قَائِمٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ قِيَامِهِ إِلَّا السَّهْرِ. There are some who fast and get nothing from their fast but hunger. And there are others who get up in the night and get nothing out of their stand but sleeplessness. So your intention, so this, Ibn Qudama rahimahullah, he's saying actions without your intentions, it's nothing but toil. And intentions without sincerity is riyah. Okay? So you make this intention, I'm going to do this salat. But you're not sincere. Who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for Allah, or are you doing it for the people? It can become a source of riyah. And riyah, as you know, and we'll talk a little more about that, this is doing acts of worship in order to be seen by people. So you do the salat, you do the hajj, that you want to get a name and you want to be seen by the people. This is riyah. Then he said, and sincerity without verification is like dust. It's haba. It's like a waste. It's useless. Because we need to verify and confirm our tawheed. We have to be sure. And right now there are many people who will come into our communities and they will teach Muslims about Islam, but their concept of Allah is strange. It's not really based on what happened in the early generations. And we in America and Canada, we were struck by a number of people who came to us teaching these things. And so we actually had movements that developed out of our communities. These are new Muslims, and they became so strange, like one group called the Nation of Islam, and where they said that you know, the founder, the person who came, the W. Fard Muhammad, they said he was Allah. Wa'iyadhu billah. He was Allah. He was a businessman that came to Detroit or Chicago selling cloth. And then they said their founder, Elijah Muhammad, that he was the last prophet. So even though they would say the kalima, they would say, you know, there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger, they had the wrong intention. They did not verify who it is that they actually was worshiping. So they ended up worshiping a man instead of worshiping the creator of the heavens and the earth. So therefore, it's a process that we need to go through. You know, the intentions are very important, and this is really how it begins. And we have to constantly ask ourselves, why are we doing the things that we do? We have to purify our intentions. And when you are in a leadership position, you will get caught in this, because many times the struggles in community, it happens between leaders whose ego, whose personal, reputation becomes more important than the community itself. Okay, so the real intentions of a person, you will see this in many of the great companions of the Prophet ﷺ. I saw this, there's a movement in West Africa that I studied, which is called Al-Murabitun. And one of the great leaders of the Murabitun, Sheikh Abu Bakr ibn Umar al-Lamtuni, he took over this great movement, and he spread Islam in Senegal and much of West Africa. And because he had to leave to do dawah, he made another person as the leader. His name was Yusuf ibn Tashfin. So he made Yusuf ibn Tashfin as the leader of the Murabitun movement. And Yusuf ibn Tashfin, rahimahullah, he succeeded in spreading Islam in the Sahara Desert, in Mauritania and in Morocco, and he actually was controlling a huge area of land, and the people were following him. He was a great leader. Now Abu Bakr al-Lamtuni comes back. Okay, he's supposed to be the Amir, right? But there's now somebody else who is greater than him. What did he do? In most cases today, if your ego is involved in it, if your intention was for power, he would say, no, kill this man, get rid of him. I'm the Amir. You know what he said? He said, Sidi Yusuf, you are the Amir. Because you are doing the job that needs to be done. MashaAllah, you're the Amir. I'm going back to the desert to do dawah. Because his intention was for Allah. His intention was not sulta. It was not authority, political authority. I mean, some of these masjids that we have in our communities, it's like he's Amir al-Mu'mineen, it's like he's controlling a section of the Muslim world. And he's got a little building in Oslo, Norway, isn't it? Or in Toronto, Canada. And when it's time for an election to come about, you have to have a coup d'etat in the mosque in order to change the leader. He wants to be imam for life. 40, 50 years he wants to be the imam. You see? What is the intention about? Abu Bakr ibn Umar al-Lamtuni rahimahullah, he shows you the example. He sees that Yusuf ibn Tashfin is doing a proper job. Let him, you're the Amir now. I'm not the Amir anymore. You see? And that's a crucial thing in leadership, that we always remember why we are doing the things that we do. Following this, in terms of the revival, we recognize the fact that it is inside of ourselves. And this is where the issue of the heart comes in. And there is a few hadiths you will see when I put number 4 on this on the slide. That means number 4 in the hadith book. Okay, that's what the numbers are, just for your own reference. And inshallah, we will make these slides available to those who want them. I will make the slides available to you as well, either in a printed form or you can get the actual presentation itself, so you can have it. In this tradition, the Prophet ﷺ is saying, "Inna Allah la yanduru ila ajsamikum wa la ila suwarikum, walakin yanduru ila qulubikum wa a'malikum." In this hadith reported by Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Verily, Allah does not look at your bodies nor at your appearances, but He looks at your hearts and your deeds." So the essence is the hearts and the deeds. And in a section of this other hadith, which is a famous hadith, I've taken a section where the Prophet ﷺ says, وَإِنَّ فِي الْجَسَدِ مُدْغَةً إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ وَإِذَا فَسَدَتْ فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ أَلَا وَهِيَ الْقَلْبُ. The Prophet ﷺ said, verily in the body there is a lump of flesh, which if it is in good repair, all the body will be in good repair, and if in good condition, and which if it is corrupted, the whole body will be corrupted, and that is the heart. So the essence of the issue is al-qalb. It is the heart. Now, what is the heart itself? They have recently done studies to show that the heart of the individual actually has more power than what we used to think. Science had taught us that human beings are basically brains, which command, the brain commands the body, and the heart is just pumping blood. Okay, and that is the physical job of the heart itself. The Prophet ﷺ, you'll see, he uses the qalb and qulub in many different ways. Okay, and now they are recognizing, even in science, that the heart actually commands the brain. That there is a neural connection between the heart and the brain, and that many of the decisions that you make, it is your heart that's actually making the decision. Your brain is like your computer. So your brain is storing information. But many of the decisions that we make are emotional. There's some emotion involved. It's not just straight out facts and figures. And so this is where your heart, which is sort of like what we used to call your conscience. It's like your conscience. We used to say in America, always let your conscience be your guide. Okay, what is your conscience? It's something, it's the door to the soul. It's not a ruh itself, but it is something connected. The conscience, it is that feeling inside of you. Right? It is something we can't put our finger on it, but it is such an important issue. And it is so important that the Prophet ﷺ, when people are lining up in salat, he's saying shoulder to shoulder, straight, and make your come shoulder so the shaitan will not come between you, so your hearts will not be divided. Why did he say your hearts not be divided? You're lining up for salat. Why did he say your brains or your thoughts? Is your hearts, right? A person comes to him and asks him about righteousness, bir, and he tells him, istafti qalbak. Ask your heart. What is that? If you think about this, you will see how much this issue of the heart comes in. The second hadith is clear. If your heart is in good repair, if it is sound, then the whole body is sound. Everything you do. If your heart is corrupted, then everything is corrupted. So this is an issue that we need to seriously understand. We need to seriously understand this. And in order to do that, we need to look into not only a heart in good condition, but also diseases of the heart. And there are many scholars who have looked into amrad al-qulub, Diseases of the heart. It's a very important subject. Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, you will see many great scholars who looked into this. I studied a scholar from West Africa, Sheikh Uthman Danfodio, rahimahullah, of the great Sokoto Khilafat in northern Nigeria, in the desert region. He was a great scholar of Islam, and he had this ability to take fiqh and also ihsan, to bring spirituality inside of fiqh. This is going to be our big struggle in the extremes that we're facing within our community. And in this study of the heart, which is a very deep study, but I just want to bring you some of the issues of the diseases of the heart. And you will see many scholars who look at this. And the concept is that the essence, the heart is like a fort. And there are certain gates to your fort. And that your enemy, the shaitan, wa'iyadu billah, is trying to breach your wall to destroy your heart. Because once your heart is destroyed, everything is gone. No change. So we will remain in a particular way continuously. And if you look at the Muslim world today, if you look at the conditions of Muslims, even we have to reflect on ourselves as well. You will see many times it is some of these issues that we get involved in. I want to give you some of these issues which are diseases of the heart. And these are like some of the doors that the shaitan wa'iyadu billah can actually go through to get to you. One of them is hasad. This is jealousy. And hasad is a very terrible thing. Hasad is that when somebody gets something good, they get some blessing in their life, you hate the fact that something good has happened to that individual. For instance, the sister Zainab, she has a new baby. And other people are jealous of the baby. And they look at the baby, look how ugly that child is. And hasad, okay, if you want a baby too, that's okay. Okay? But if you hate the fact she has the baby, if you hate it, then this is the hasad that can actually come. I lived in Medina with the Bedouins in Harra Gharbiya, and whenever somebody had a baby and you come, you have to say, MashaAllah, tabarakallah. You have to say this. If you don't say MashaAllah, tabarakallah, they're going to say, wait, hasad. This hasad thing amongst Muslims, it gets to an extreme. It can get to, but there is something in it. There's something in it. Ali has his new Lamborghini, and he pulls up in front of the masjid. If you want one like his, that's okay. But if you hate to see him in it, that is hasad. And the strange thing is that the hasid is more destroyed than the mahsud. The one who has the hasad, he feels it worse than the one who is the object of it. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Iyakum wal hasad, fa innal hasada yakul hasanati kama takulu nal al hatab." Beware of jealousy; it will eat up your good deeds, like a fire eats up firewood. Destroy you. You go to Hajj, you fast in Ramadan, and then you're jealous of another person, it will destroy everything in its path. And this hasad is a serious thing. And then even in our little communities in far off way, another masjid makes a little progress and they get jealous. Envy comes in. And it can cause a confusion. How do we solve this? How do we come out of this? We need to have the theoretical understanding and a practical one. Theoretically, we need to say, why are we jealous of the person? If the person has got a material thing, if they have a child, that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's a test on that person. Sometimes the fact that the person has a lot of money, it's not going to help them. It's a fitna on them. And it's actually better not to have the money. So we have to try to understand hasad and the feeling that can come up inside of us and realize that our rizq, that what is, we will gain is written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another issue from amongst the many issues is anger, ghadab. Okay, and anger is something, and this is, you know, especially when it's uncontrolled anger. Okay, and this uncontrolled anger, this is something which is really, really serious. It's really serious. And when the person has too much of this anger, this emotion, they can end up arguing. You'll see people that they foam at the mouth and they start to like even, you know, fight each other, and they lose control, right? And so it's having emotion, these things, you know, for the wrong reasons. And we have to learn to control ourselves. I remember there was a case when I was doing counseling, and the Muslim sister and the brother came to me. The sister was a short, thin sister, and the brother was tall and strong. But she was fiery sister. But she had a problem. She used to say to this man, she would say things to make him angry, and then he would fight her. He would beat her. So she had a problem, like abuse, you know, type of problem. Masochism, they say, masochism. Okay, so he would come in the house and she would say, "Look at you, little man, you nothing. You can't provide for your children." Or she would say something, and he gets angry and he punches her. So they came to me and they said, "How can we solve this problem?" I said, "I am not a psychiatrist or whatever, you know, but maybe what we can do, let's go see what the Sheikh would say to do." From the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, they said that if you are angry, if you feel this anger coming up in you, if you're standing up, sit down. If you're sitting down, lay down. Okay? If that doesn't work, make wudu. Like put water on yourself. Okay, and I added another one for the brother. If you're out of control and then, you know, nothing works, leave the room. Just like leave. Don't stay there in the room. And so they went and they tried it, and alhamdulillah, at least it was helping them for a while anyway. I don't know what finally happened to them. But this anger is something which is really serious. It is considered to be one of the diseases of the heart. It is one of the doors through which the shaitan can actually come in and destroy. Another one is pride. This is a big problem in the Muslim world. Pride. This kibriya that people have. We are proud of our color, proud of our tribe, proud of our nationality. Sometimes we're proud of our Islamic movement. Some people are proud of their passport. When maybe they didn't have the passport 30 years ago, there was no passport. His cousins are over the other side of the border, right? But he thinks he's better because of his passport. It's like pride, okay? And this pride, it is usually some material things, right? Things that are, you know, we didn't actually, bring them. And we get proud over these things. In that case, we need to theoretically understand our situation as human beings. We came from a humble place, and we will return to a humble place. When we die, nobody's going down there with you. I don't care how rich you are, how beautiful you are, nobody's going down there with you. So what are we proud about? We're strong one day, and we become weak as we grow older. But how do we solve this problem? Theoretically, first, we need to keep that in mind. But if that doesn't work, then we need to actually do some actions. I remember a group of friends of mine, they went to India to visit a scholar of hadith. And they entered the house and they sat down, and an elderly man came out to them and he brought them a bowl, and they washed their hands and he prepared them, and then he brought food for them, and they ate their food and whatnot. And then they said, "Okay, where's the sheikh? We want to see where the sheikh is." And then the man left and then the man came back in and sat down and said, "I'm the sheikh." So you see what he did? He served them first. He was their slave. So if he had any pride inside of himself, if he thought he was better than them, that's gone now. He served them. When he came back and took his position, as the scholar, they knew who he was. There's no doubt about his excellence in hadith. But in terms of his pride, he is recognizing this knowledge is not from me. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So he deals with the pride inside of himself. And this is a very important thing for us when we are in leadership, that we always can come back down to the regular people. You can always play soccer with the brothers, play with the sisters. You can always be a regular person. Too many times the person in our organization, he becomes president and he changes. He becomes the imam or the amir, and suddenly he changes. He's now Amir al-Mu'mineen. When he wants to govern over you or something, right? Say, no, brother, you're just the amir. There's 3 of us on the journey, so one should be the amir, right? You're not Amir al-Mu'mineen. You're just making a decision which petrol station we should stop at. So pride is something that we need to seriously consider as well. It is one of the serious diseases of the heart. The other one, which is really important, is riyah. It's riyah. And that is doing acts of worship to be seen by people. We go to pilgrimage to make hajj in order to get the name al-hajj fulan fulan, to come back to the community and be proud of hajj. There is the case of the person who's making salat. I heard of this case. And he's in a Jami mosque, and after Jummah, and he's about to make his sunnah for Salatul Jummah, and a group of people come in. And so he looks and he sees this group and they're watching him, right? So he makes salat, Allahu Akbar, he goes into his salat, and they're watching him. Now, this is your struggle now. Why are you making that salat? Everybody has riyah inside of them. So he's making the salat, and they're watching him, and he makes it long. And he goes down in ruku', long. And his tear is crying, and then he goes down, and they're saying, MashaAllah, look at this. And he's making his salat, and then he finishes, he's sitting, and he finishes the salat, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and I'm fasting too. So he tells me, he said, I'm fasting too, right? You understand what he did? He's trying to impress the people. You see, riyah, he's no longer praying to Allah. There's sharik. There's now a partner in this. He started praying to Allah, and now he's praying for the people, because he wants a reputation. And this can influence us in what we do. We have to remember that authority and leadership, it is a trust. It is not a hierarchy. This concept that we have been struggling with for a long time in leadership, it's the concept of hierarchy versus interdependence. See, the hierarchy is where you go up, down. President, vice president, secretary, treasurer, people, organization. But interdependence is more like a circle. So the leader is really the person who has more responsibility than the other people in the Jama'ah. If you look at the Prophet ﷺ, you will see that he used to, when they came to Medina looking for him, they would come to the circle and see the Sahaba, and then they would, in some cases, they say, which one of you is Rasulullah ﷺ? They didn't know. They couldn't look at him and see who he was. But when he began to teach, then they knew. You see? So there's no arrogance in leadership. Humility. When they come to him, he would tell them, I am the son of one of your women. That's how he addresses. That's who I am. So we have to always remember that no matter how so-called high we get, okay, we have to continue and maintain humility. We have to maintain humility. Another aspect, and this was brought by Sheikh Uthman Danfodio and many of the great scholars, of the doors of shaitan to your heart is shahwa, its desires. Through your physical desires, the shaitan can get, and now we can see this today clearly, because most of the advertisements, most of the things, the fitna that's coming in society is based upon desires of people. Your desire to eat, your sexual desires, materialism, and so forth and so on. He even mentioned like that with materialism, he said, the love of a fancy house and clothes, right? When you love the fancy clothes, you love the house, okay? This can be a door the shaitan will come in. If Allah blesses you with a wide house, with a nice car, mashallah. But don't look at that as something that you own. You don't really own it. Because shortly you're going to leave the dunya and someone's going to take your house. You can't take it with you. You see, so but when that love of the dunya comes in, remember the hadith, hubb dunya. When the love of the dunya comes in, you see, this is when the shaitan, wal-iyadu billah, can actually deal with you. Another point, and this is an interesting point that he brought. He said, one of the ways the shaitan can come to a person is when they should not eat too much food. They should not feel overly contented when they eat. So this is a heavy point. They should not feel overly contented when they eat, and because they will become lazy, you know, and then they won't be able to carry out, you know, their ibadah, and that is the way that the shaitan, wal-iyadu billah, can actually come in. Another interesting point that he brought in terms of the diseases of the heart, the way the shaitan can come, is al-ajala, haste. And the hadith actually says, al-ajala min ash-shaitan. I mean, it's straight in the hadith, that haste is from the devil. Haste. And we will see this in our counseling. We will see haste, especially in things like marriage. They have haste. You want to get married? The sister comes to me and says, I want to marry the brother. He's got nice curl in his hair and his eyes. And I said, does he have a job? Does this man have a job? I don't care how nice his hair is. Does he have a job? Is he married already, right? Are you going to be his second wife, right? You better find out about this person. You don't just love him because of the way he looks. You see? No, brother, I have to do this, you know. And then he might bring the hadith. These comes in our community. Many brothers, they, you know, whoever who has the money, get married. I have to get married right now. The brother came to get married. This is a real case. This Sheikh Adam, he was in a Sudani brother, who used to be in Washington, D.C. He brought this case to us. He said the brother came, this American girl, he wanted to marry an American girl. He came from a Muslim country. And he said, this beautiful American girl, tall, blonde-haired girl, whatever, I want to marry this girl. And they said, do you know anything about the girl's background, anything? Do you know? He said, no, khalas, finished. America. I have to get married to the girl. So he forced the issue and he married the girl. He came back crying a few months later. He was HIV positive. He was HIV positive. She didn't even know, right? Because sometimes you can be HIV positive and you don't know. You're carrying it because of your life before. So you need to check out the person, man. You need to check out the person. So this is one of the ways that the shaitan, wal-iyadu billah, can come in. Next point of the many points, I just brought a few of them, but a very interesting one that the Shaykh rahimahullah brought. He said, being fanatic in your school of thought. This is interesting. He's saying being a fanatic in your madhab, your Islamic group, or he brought talking about madhab. Fanaticism, asabiya. You become too fanatic in that, the shaitan can actually come in and destroy you. And we see this happening. We see it happening in our communities. People arguing with each other and splitting hairs over issues which is all sunnah. All of it is sunnah. Why are you arguing with the other person? What's the difference? And so, this is something that we need to seriously consider as well. Another issue which the Shaykh rahimahullah brought up as the doors that come into the fort. The shaitan is going to rush in through these doors into your heart, destroy your heart. It is forcing people to reflect on the names and descriptions of Allah. This is an interesting one. They had a group in the Sahara which was called Sanusi, the Sanusi movement. And this Aqidah, Sanusiya, they had an Aqidah book. And so they were using some young Talabat al-Ilm, they were focusing on the Aqidah issues. And they were making these Aqidah issues as key things in their relationship. We had this in our community recently. Extreme groups coming in, and they say the Imam finishes Salat, and they say to the Imam, "Where is Allah? Where is Allah?" And they want to see how he answers, right? If he doesn't answer the question properly, they say, "Don't pray behind this man." Okay? And they would come to communities, even in areas where the Imam was a good person, leading Salat, but he did not have training in Islamic studies. He did not study Tawheed properly, or whatever. So instead of teaching the Imam, they would test him to see where he was. And when he failed the test, they would then split and divide, and they would attack the Imam. You see? And this has been identified over 200 years, 400 years ago. It's been identified as one of the problems where the shaitan can actually come in and destroy you. So this is a very interesting point. And the final point, and I'm going to open up the floor for questions. The final point of the many points I want to bring today is su'a dhan. It is bad suspicion of Muslims. Suspecting other people. You think the wrong things about people. So you will look at a person and you see what does his thobe look like? What does he have on his head? What kind of clothes does he have on? You see? And then you judge the person based on that. It's su'a dhan. It's what we would call prejudice. Prejudice is prejudgment. You will judge a person before you really know that person. And this su'a dhan is one of the ways that the shaitan, wa'iyadu billah, can come to people. And we will see, in our struggle, that these issues, what these issues can actually lead to. These can lead to major problems within our communities and within our societies. Especially the issue of pride. Now, this issue of pride really is a big problem that we face. How can we break down the pride that is amongst us? The feeling, tribal feeling. Because what comes out of this is tribalism and racism, where people will despise each other because of tribe or because of a racial thing. And this is a very serious issue in many of our communities. I remember when I was in Toronto was basically, we basically had 2 masjids. This is back at one time. Now today, when I returned, there's like about 70 masjids. The city has expanded and the masjids have expanded. In the early times, we were all in the Jamia. And within that Jami mosque, you had different groups coming into Canada at the time, and they would have a halaqah based on their language or on their group. But when it comes time for salat, everybody prays together. Okay? But now the different groupings left and opened up their own masjid. And so that tribalism can actually come in, and it plays a serious role. It's something that people don't talk about, but it's something that's on the inside. And I experienced this thing, and I'm being very sincere with you. I'm trying to help you understand, what I went through as the imam of this mosque. Because it was a huge masjid. We started off with a small number, and then we turned around with 1,000 people making Jummah Salat. And we wanted to unite the people for Ramadan. Okay? And as you know, this Ramadan issue has become a problem. Some people, when Sha'ban comes, they say, "Oh no, it's Ramadan again." Like, what's wrong with you, man? It's Ramadan. He said, "No, because it's going to be 2 Eids. In some places, 3. Now we have a new group that cites based on calculations. Before they cite ikhtilaf al-matali', different horizons or one horizon. Now you have calculations group. Another one, he calls his uncle and he says, what time of month? They say, kullu am wa antum bi khair. Finished. Whether you saw the moon or not, my people are making Eid. You see? So we gathered together the people. And we succeeded in forming a group we call the Hilal Committee. And in this, it was a major achievement. In this committee, we had all of the different positions. We had people from Azhar University. We had Deobandi scholars from India. We had people from Saudi Arabia. We had all the groups. And we put our hearts together and we said, this year we want unity. And we came up with a united position that we made a horizon of North America, and we had a system to do this. At the beginning of the month, everything was okay. Because it doesn't matter in the beginning anyway, right? They started the fast, everybody was united, said mashallah. But when the month now is near the end, they start changing, right? I had the unfortunate job of being the Amir, right? I'm in the middle of everybody. And somehow they accepted me because I wasn't any nationality of anybody. So I was in the Amir. End of the month is coming. We gathered together the committee. We were waiting for the horizon. East Coast, Central America, West Coast, right? We would wait until the far west would sight for the moon. We had people sighting. Then we could accept the sightings coming out of the Middle East. We decided we would do this. Okay, we had fatwa from Sheikh bin Baz. You can do this. Okay? The time came now, and it was raining, and it was a difficult night, and now the time is running out. It's 11 o'clock. We're sitting. People are calling up, is it Eid? Is it Eid? Imagine, I think you all know this situation, right? And we're sitting waiting, no reports, nothing. Central, nothing. West Coast, nothing. It's 12 o'clock midnight. The people have to know, is it Eid or not? Because they're renting places for the Salat. Finally, we said, we can't take the pressure based on the information we have. Tomorrow is not Eid. We will fast. And we made the decision, and it went around the city. Okay? I went home. It was snowing out. I reached home about 3 in the morning. They gave me a phone call. A phone call came. They said, brother, 2 brothers on a mountain in Idaho or somewhere, they saw it. Are you going to break? One of the big organizations, they said, Khalas, Eid Mubarak, we break. They broke the unity. Okay? Then I said, okay, what is the situation? I said, give me the phone number of the, I called the brothers up. It sounded correct. It sounded like they really saw it. But we already made the decision, right? Now what are you going to do? What can you do at that point? We made the decision. I called up one group of people and I said, brothers, what is the situation? They said, Brother Abdullah, don't trust Arabs. You cannot trust Arabs. Khalas. Because the two Arab brothers, they said, you cannot trust the Arabs. We'll see you, Assalamu alaikum, we'll see you next year. I called the other group, they said, don't trust Pakistani, they can't speak Arabic. Okay? Then I went to one group. These were honest ulama. No, they said to me, Istafti qalbak. Ask your heart. How am I going to make this decision, man? And so, but what these brothers saw on the mountain, it was true. So I had nothing else to do but to agree with what they saw. And say to the people, it is Eid. This is about 4 o'clock in the morning. They had to announce, it is Eid. Who can make it, make it. Then suddenly I laid down and my mother-in-law, she came and she said, there's a crowd in front of the house. So I said, are they Muslims? She said, yeah, they're Muslims. Right? And I came outside, they said, we want to hear it from you. Is it Eid or not? Then I said, it is Eid. Eid Mubarak. It's Eid. But now look at the confusion. because they canceled the huge place they had for the thing. They canceled it for the next day. So now there was confusion. It's permissible in Sharia to do, the next day or whatever. It's all this permissible. But people Eid Mubarak finished, man. They have to have their Salatul Eid and their food. They blamed it on me, right? Because of the unity. And I realized at the end of that month that the problem with our ummah, it was not ikhtilaf al-matali'. It was not the difference in the horizons. It was ikhtilaf al-qulub. The real problem was difference in hearts. That's the problem. And it goes right into the essence of the individual. So this pride, tribalism, it clouds a lot of the issues. Now in Toronto, I go inside the masjid, and you go in one masjid, it's like Istanbul, you've entered Turkey. Another masjid is like you're in Hyderabad, India. Another one, you're in Mogadishu, Somalia. Each one has ethnic flavor to the mosque. Okay, instead of that jamia feeling where all Muslims can come in and feel safe. So tribalism is an evil outcome of this issue dealing with pride. Another issue that comes out of this is the abuse of the poor. The abuse of the poor. And this can also come out of racism and greed. The greed that can come into people's hearts, and that can be part of the wickedness of the shaitan, wal-iyadhu billah, coming into people's hearts. And so we want to combine certain qualities, okay, and to really have a balanced position. Otherwise, what will come out of this pride and greed and the diseases of the hearts, this brings humiliation. It'll bring us confusion, right? And we will lose direction. You lose the general direction, which is the ummah, that we are dealing with an ummah. So if there are Muslims in Palestine who have a problem, that's my problem. If there are Muslims in Bosnia who have a problem, that's my problem. If there are Muslims in Nigeria, Indonesia, in whatever the part of the Muslim world it is, I should feel that issue in the same way as I feel if it's my own people. That is the feeling that we need to try to get. And one of the blessings that we have, especially those who have recently come into Islam and those who have revived their Islam, is that we're coming with a different understanding as our base. Okay, and this is where we need to constantly purify our hearts, because this is the essence of the issue. It's right inside ourselves. As the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, there is a lump of flesh which in the individual, if it is correct, إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّ. If this is sound and repaired, the whole body is repaired. وَإِذَا فَسَدَتْ فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّ. If it is corrupted, the whole body is corrupted, and this is the heart. This is right inside of us. And so this is where now your revival, it's your intentions, and the next stage is your heart. It's your conscience. It's your emotional intelligence. You see, which is the door to your soul. This has to be, our Islam, our intentions, our connections with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have to reach all the way to the essence of our being. Okay? So I want to open up the floor for any questions, any direct questions off of this that anybody may have. The floor is open.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the differences between the Izzah and the Fa'is? Can you give an example? Because I know we, as leaders, we're faced with these two things.
Yeah. It's like a person who is strong but polite. They combine this quality. And this is how the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were. Well, one of the best examples of this, I think, and the Prophet ﷺ said there was 3 people in Quraysh. They were the best of people. If they spoke to you, they would speak the truth. And if you spoke to them, they would not accuse you of lying. He said there's three people: Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Uthman ibn Affan, and Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, radiallahu anhu. And of these three, Abu Ubaidah stands out. He was kathir al-haya. He had this haya, right? He was extremely modest person, shy almost. But then they said, if the enemies of Allah came, he turned into the sharp edge of the sword. He's like a lion. He's in the front, no fear. But when he's with you, he's a humble person. You see? So it's that strength that is, and I want to go into this whole issue of strength as we go further, but it is more internal strength connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as opposed to outward, pride like this, because the outcome of the kibriya is takabbur. And that is your, arrogance. So there's a difference between arrogance and natural strength. In martial arts, they have the fighters. If a person is studying martial arts and they become a really good black belt 6th Dan or something, they say the more you learn martial arts is the less you get into a fight. It's the person who just learns, he now is going to fight everybody. But the master of the arts never gets into the fight. If you push him, he walks away. He does not get into a fight. But if you back him into a corner, then he finishes you. You see, so the real strength of the individual, it's not the superficial takabbur type of strength. It is an internal strength connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see, so it's a quality. We're going to talk more about this. But it's a quality that we want. So people can see you as a strong person, but you're not an arrogant person. You're polite. You're a humble person and you're polite. But at the same time, they know you're strong. You're committed. So you're committed, but you're open-minded at the same time. You see? Yes, sir.
The concept of making sins that corrupt hearts. And we know that the hearts of mankind among
Yeah.
Allah, among the fingers of God, He changed it whatever. Consequently, when we committing sins, that means we are putting or either not paying on the right time or not paying our zakah, it will make a dust in our hearts, and one after one, then the heart will become black where we have
That's right.
difficulty. So then one of the methods by which we can avoid that facade or stay away from sins.
Right, this is another way as well. Also with the Jumu'ah, when you bring that point up, Rasulullah is saying every time you miss the Jumu'ah, then it puts this stain on your heart, and then pretty soon you become like min al-ghafilin, like of those forgetful type of people. So really, the actions that we are doing as Muslims, if you look at the 5 salat or the 5 pillars of Islam, it's all forms of purification. We're constantly purifying our shahada, right? The salat purifies us with wudu and then with the prayer itself, right? Zakah is purification. It's zakah. So it purifies our wealth. Fasting is purifying us, right? Hajj is completely, we can come back like a new baby. So all of these things that we're doing are forms of purification because people are weak and sinful. So we have to constantly purify, and never feel that we have succeeded. It is reported that Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, when he was on his deathbed, and they came to him and they said, you made it. And then he said, not yet. Not yet. Right? Right at that point, this is a great Imam like this. So we have to have this humility, that constant tawadu, that type of, feeling of respect and humility in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, coupled with strength. It doesn't mean you're a weakling. We cannot be weaklings. But at the same time, we have to have respect. So this is a balance. We're going to talk more about this as we go along. It's part of balance that we need to develop within our personalities. Okay? And this is really important today because of the different struggles that we will find ourselves in. So we're going to take a break now. Any questions that you may have, write it down, some of your questions, and think about it. And we're going to take a break for 10 minutes. And at 11 o'clock, we'll come back and we'll have a town hall meeting where we can discuss some of these issues and questions and answers and feedback. So think of your feedback of this and how this has impacted you and your communities and what you observed. And inshallah, at 11 o'clock, that we will come back for that. Wa billahi tawfiq.